I'm here with Joe Szalkiewicz, who has set a goal to climb the 7 summits with his son. So Joe, how did this goal come about?
Well, it really is my son's goal. It wasn't my goal. My business partner had asked me, I think 6 years in a row, to hike Whitney with him. And every time I had something that kept me from doing it. And probably several of them were just fear.
Right.
But finally made the commitment, and I had it on the books for about a week. And Joey told the family, and Joey's like, I want to go. And my first reaction was absolutely not. You know, they're just...
So you didn't even offer it to him. He just jumped in and said, I want to go.
Yeah, I would not. It made no sense to me to bring him. And there's this weird part of it that I felt like I was obligated to my business partner to do this with him. And then to bring my son was somehow disrespectful to him, or just didn't work for what I was kind of putting together. Joey kept asking. And there was a moment in time where I just was like, well, you know, I got to stop saying no. And then reframe the whole thing in my head that, okay, this is about attempting Whitney. It's not about summiting Whitney.
So what changed your mind in that moment? Because as a dad, I know I have those moments too, where it's much easier to just say no, and then at some point in being a dad, you realize I need to say yes, even though it's not what I want to do. Like, is there anything you can point to?
Yeah, no, it's Joey. He's like crazy persistent, and to an irritating level.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Because me being the youngest of 4, frankly, I was like beat down. Like my dad in particular was like, I say no once, and then you're done. Don't ask again. But Joey's very persistent, and he very consistently asked. And I think just in my heart, I knew I was interested in doing it with him, regardless of what, you know, the outcome was going to be.
Is there anything that drove that? Like, what was the interest in sharing that with him?
You know, father-son stuff. I think the idea started to solidify that, wow, that would be cool. You know, we could do fishing, and I think just in general it made sense that it'd be just as fun to have my son with me. And I think on some levels I realized I don't owe my business partner anything, and it's probably more important to incorporate my son into the project than meet some weird kind of qualification I put on it with my business partner.
So did you share any of those experiences with your dad? Is that what triggered it, or?
My dad did a lot of outdoor stuff, and then I don't have a lot of clear memories with him specifically outdoors. And I think part of it too is I have memories with my mom's husband outdoors, and there's probably like almost a level of guilt with that, you know, like I don't have these memories with my dad, and I have them with, you know, my mom's husband. And
right.
So maybe something in me was like, well, I better, just in case.
Guilt's a good motivator.
Just in case something happens, I better have some in the memory banks with Joey.
So what did your partner say then? Like, so I assume at some point you had to say, well, I'm going to go, but I'm bringing my kid.
So he was doing the Mountaineers route, and we were all set that that's what I was going to do. And yeah, it was like, I was apologetic. I said, look, I'm sorry, man. I'm bringing my son, and you know, he definitely is not going to do the Mountaineers Trail because there's some pretty sketchy components to that. But I'm going to do the main trail, and you know, thanks again for the invite. And
so he didn't take it as bad as you feared?
Yeah, exactly,
maybe.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's like, what do they say, that you wouldn't worry about how much what people think about you if you knew how little they did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially I find always with your kids too. Like if you ever have to ask people, like, my kids get like. We're always way more apologetic than we probably need to be.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like people usually care that much, and probably the people that care we probably should spend less time with anyway.
That's a true statement.
Now, do you think there's any chance of actually summiting with Joey's 10 at this point?
Joey's 10. Yeah, no, I clearly told everybody that we no longer are going to summit. And I think it was more thinking, what do people think? You're going to drag this kid to the top of Whitney. There's no way he's going to make it. So part of it's like acknowledging for everyone else that, yeah, you know, he can't do it. And I understand that. And that's not what we're trying to accomplish here.
was telling everybody you're not going to summit more about protecting Joey, protecting you, making an excuse? Was it
about people's perception of your parenting? You know, like you're not a parent that's either pushing your son too hard or silly to think that he can do things that he can't. So yeah, it was definitely about you know, people's perceptions more than anything else.
I assume you didn't just go out and start climbing up Whitney. I assume
Right.
you probably did some training.
Yeah, I bought a book, I remember, that was helpful. I don't remember the name. It was like Climbing Whitney in a Day. I think Doug, my business partner, said hike Baldy and hike Gorgonio and do some day hikes and you'll be okay. And
So you did those with Joey?
we did those, yeah. And
How'd those go?
they were great. The first one I remember we did was Palomar Mountain. And it's funny, like you look back and here I am dragging my 10-year-old kid up a 15-mile, you know, whatever, 6-7 hour hike. And I clearly remember him, and he also reminds me when we're on Palomar. I just was a bit of a tyrant, you know. I had, and part of me was like, he's not going to do it, and then part of me is like, he has to put in the effort. If he's gonna ruin my trip.
Right.
So we're hiking, and I remember at the end of the hike he fell and scraped himself, and my reaction was like horrible. It was like, you know, you got to pay attention. It was all just, you're doing things wrong. And I look back and that part's a little bit hard. But there was this moment in time on that hike where he started crying, and all those same parenting things I think came up, like I can't have a crying child, and almost am I being stupid here and even trying to attempt this. So I was pretty rough on him when he was crying, and I think he fell after that, and that first training hike ended just horribly. Like he was mad at me, I was mad at him, and it was an interesting moment in time.